His Majesty the Emperor was entering. The man came in and noted that it was very noisy and almost everyone was drunk. He approached Kayan saying that he was the last one to know about his wedding and asked how it all started. He asked His Majesty to do what he had to do first. Lassus replied that he would not leave him alone. Kayan asked him to be quiet. Atisha's father intervened in their conversation, telling Your Majesty that he was honored to meet him and introducing himself as a viscount from the Heinz family. Lassus Ignavan answered him that he was asking for forgiveness. He is the same person who dared to exclude his daughter from the family. The viscount asked what he was talking about. The emperor laughed and said that it seemed Duke Kayan had not told him yet. The duke entrusted ownership of part of the capital territory to Atisha Heinz, and as he knows the owners of capital territories are given a title, Atisha's father asked again. Lassus asked if he needed to explain in more detail. It is not the aristocrats who inherit family lands who receive a new surname, but those who inherit new territory. All this means is that Miss Atisha is no longer part of the Heinz family. The emperor smiled at Kayan and showed a thumbs up. Duke Kayan came closer to the viscount and turned to him and asked if he now understood. He, in turn, could not even move from the unexpected news. The duke took out a tablet from his pocket and said that Lady Atisha was now a baroness. He continued that this is why she is no longer part of the Heinz family. Therefore, there is no need to treat Wintels as relatives of the Heinz family. The man came even closer to Viscount Heinz and told him to try not to have vain hopes. Just because Atisha and he are getting married and let him not even think of threatening him, the Viscount did not know what to do next. Now the Duke himself is standing in front of him, who wants him to get out of here. Behind him stands the Emperor who dared to remove Atisha from his family. There were groups of people around them who were shocked by what was happening. The man did not know at all what to do in this situation, but then it dawned on him. He rushed to Atisha and asked if she had arranged all this. What did she say to the Duke and His Majesty? The man fell at the feet of the Duke and said that this was not what he thought. He doesn't know what his daughter said about the Heinz family, but it's not true. In his family, their daughters were raised quite strictly. Not all parents who have daughters are like them. This is simply so that his daughters become worthy women. The Viscount rushed to Atisha again. He started shouting that they fed and raised her, and she repaid them in this way. I just abandoned my parents. Is this what they taught her? The girl could not answer because she had a lump in her throat from such accusations. Viscount Heinz said this was unfair. He asked the Duke to listen to him. Here Atisha told her father that she never said anything bad about her family. Everyone paid attention to her. The girl said that she was leaving the family. This is what he wanted. The Viscount asked what she was saying. Atisha came even closer to him and told him to remember what happened 7 years ago. She was 13 years old then. They and their father rode home in a carriage. Then the father swung at her. Atisha fell and hit herself painfully. The man told her that she was pathetic. When she met those robbers, they should have killed or kidnapped her. The father added that not seeing her is a breath of fresh air. The Viscount reached for the door handle and opened it. A strong wind blew. The girl covered her face with her hands. She screamed at her dad, who only told her to get out of here. The man said that she would die soon anyway, so it would be better for her to just disappear. He pushed her. Atisha recalled this with tears in her eyes. She will never forget this incident. If the coachman had not stopped the carriage, then the carriage would have crushed her. They must answer for this. The Viscount replied that it was such an old story. Everything is fine with her in the end. Their family doctor helped her, so that there were no scars left. The girl began to deny it. She has a scar from that day. It didn't matter how much it hurt her. She should have left home already then. She was a few years late, but now she's definitely leaving. Finally, she asked not to look for her anymore. The Duke turned to Viscount Heinz and asked if this is what he calls strict education. The man was afraid to look the Duke in the eyes and tried to quickly find an excuse. Kayan of Wintel advised him not to even think about throwing anything away. The Viscount began to be indignant. He thought that Duke Kayan, Emperor Ignavan, and even Atisha, they are all conspiring against him and his Heinz family. The spectators of this quarrel were already discussing with all their might what was happening. Now they have found out who Viscount Heinz really is. The woman said that it was not about love or dowry. She immediately sensed something was wrong when the Duke spoke about it. The Baron said that if he were in his place, he would lock himself in his house. What a disgrace. The Viscount only now noticed these people. He rushed to the front doors in shame. The Emperor applauded this performance and now asked for the music to be returned. Atisha and Kayan of Wintel all continued to stand in silence until Atisha spoke first. The girl smiled and asked the Duke if it was true that she would become a baroness. The man replied that it was true. This was specifically done to sever any ties with the Hines family. He continued to say that at noon today he transferred the land to the mansion. These lands are under the direct jurisdiction of the emperor. Since it is temporary, ownership and title will disappear after a certain period of time. During this time, they will already be in the north, so no problem. Atisha thought that it was interesting how many steps forward he thought through everything. It started working literally within a day. It's impressive for a man to have that ability, while he still controls a huge territory of the north. The girl bowed low to the Duke and sincerely thanked him for helping her. The man replied that he was glad that he could help her. He was worried that he might do something wrong. Atisha started denying it and saying that she was truly grateful to him. He is her savior. She was glad that this time he did not deny that he had helped her and accepted her gratitude. Kayan added that the mansion is hers, and that's not a lie. He won't disappear. She looked at him and asked the Duke why he was so kind to her. After all, for him, she is just the one who will become his fake duchess. The man could not answer, but only clenched his fists tighter. Atisha smiled and thought that of course this is the Duke. He doesn't know how to express his emotions. She knows about the rumors that are circulating around Duke Kayan. However, the girl noted that the Duke was very caring with her. The man said that he thought Lady Atisha didn't understand something. Before he could finish speaking, the emperor called out to him saying that he had finally found him. Lassie said that of course it's too late, but congratulations on the wedding. The man asked if he had announced the wedding without a notary. He gave him a mansion and even land. Atisha noticed that the Duke looked disappointed. The emperor continued to say that he thought Kayan would always be lonely, but he suddenly decided to get married. He doubts that this is really the Duke of Wintel he knows. Kayan asked him to move away and stop talking nonsense. Emperor Ignaven turned to Lady Atisha and said that then he would leave Kayan to her. He also gave her a wedding gift. If she sent a message using it, it would reach him immediately. If she needs help, she can turn to him. Atisha thanked His Majesty with a look of surprise on her face. The man said that he would send a certificate of noble title and a letter of appointment by tomorrow. For now, they should enjoy the banquet. Atisha thought that she had received a wonderful gift. If she carries it in her hands, she may lose it, so the girl put it around her neck. The Duke walked up to her and looked at this pendant. He thought about it. The man said that they would probably have to return to the mansion early and asked if she would mind. The girl agreed with the proposal and said that she was also a little tired. Kayan asked if she felt bad. Atisha replied that no, just in connection with recent events. In the end, the girl replied that she was just a little tired. She thought that it had indeed been a long day for her. And tomorrow will be the last day of the banquet, and after it she will leave for the north. Duke Kayan shook hands with her and they left the banquet together for their mansion. At this time at the Hines mansion, an angry Viscount Hines returned home. Larian Hines ran up to him and asked how it went. "Where is Atisha? Did he bring her home?" His wife asked if he had talked about the dowry with the Duke of Cayenne. The man shouted at them to shut up. Madame Dorothea began to be indignant and asked why he was shouting at them. The Viscount kicked the chair and shouted that everything had not gone the way he wanted. He slapped himself in the face and said it was the end. "They are doomed." The daughter asked again, "Doomed? What does he mean?" The man sat on the sofa saying that he has no idea how Atisha seduced this Duke of Cayenne, but she received land and title. She completely severed ties with the Hines family. Larian was shocked. "What do you mean Atisha is no longer Hines? She said that he would take her north on business or something like that. Atisha must return home, she's just her doll." 10 years ago, she first met Atisha when their parents introduced them. Atisha was shy and looked out behind her father in surprise. Later, as Larian was walking down the corridor, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around and saw Atisha. Then she shouted what she needed. Atisha turned to her sister Lari and said that she thinks that she is the most beautiful in the whole world. She's truly incredible. Everyone loves her. And Atisha loves her very much too. Larian thought it was so cute. She hopes to always have Atisha on her leash. Will not go out, meet friends, or fall in love with someone. She will be with her forever. She will forever be hers alone. When Atisha suddenly fell ill with hypermania syndrome, she was afraid to imagine her dead body. She had no choice but to lock her in the room. But now, is she leaving forever? Will she never see her again? The girl decided to act. She will return it. Larian Hines ordered the carriage to be prepared. Madame Dorothea tried to stop her, but the girl did not hear her. All she thought was that she should have done this from the very beginning. Only she can bring her back. She will never let her go again, even if she has to die next to her. Her mother shouted at her that she couldn't do it. The Duke ordered her to stay here if she doesn't comply. Larian asked her if she thought it was important now. She screamed to let her go. Dorothea ordered to be taken to her room. Larian Hines tried her best to free herself. The mother just shouted to the servants to be more careful. If she gets hurt, they will be punished. She ordered to lock her up until the end of the banquet and make sure that she did not leave. In the evening, the Duke and a young lady arrived at the mansion. All the servants were already waiting for them. Etisha approached the maid and said that she would now show her to her room. The girl followed her, but suddenly she noticed that Marin had turned in the wrong direction. The Duchess asked to stop and asked why they were going to the right because her room was on the wrong side. The maid replied that the Duchess's bedroom had only been prepared yesterday. From now on, this is her room. After all, she is their Duchess. Etisha was a little shocked because she was not yet used to this status. She blushed a little. She was pleased to hear that she was a Duchess. Cayenne of Wintel told her that if she felt uncomfortable, she could use the previous room. The girl replied that they had prepared it for her, she could not refuse. Duke Cayenne walked along the corridor to his room. Behind them came Marin and Etisha. The lady noticed this and assumed that their rooms were next to each other. They stopped near the huge doors and the maid told Etisha that this was her room now. The girl blushed very much and did not understand why there were two doors. The Duke entered the next door. The Duchess was stunned. She looked at this door and asked Marin if this meant that the door through which Duke Cayenne entered. The girl interrupted her and said yes, this is the Duke's room. Etisha was a little worried because her room was next to the Duke's. But she's a Duchess now. She needs to get used to this already. The lady became determined and said that she wanted to come in. But when she walked in, she was delighted her room was truly spotless. Etisha thought that she was so nervous because she was right next to his room. The room is much larger than she thought. Marin gave her a quick tour of her new room. She showed me the bedroom, the wardrobe, and told me about the small study area. The girl continued that if she looked there, but Etisha interrupted her and said that she did not have to explain everything. She smiled and said that they would still leave for the north tomorrow. Etisha continued that it would be more important if the maid helped her undress. The lady had already taken off her heavy dress and began to take a hot bath. Marin asked Etisha if she would leave the pendant. She answered yes. She told her to remove her dress and jewelry. She will also keep the ring with her. The maid took the dress in her hands and wished Lady Etisha good night. Etisha enjoyed this moment. She was lying in the middle of a luxurious room in her mansion. The girl lay there and thought only that the bed was so soft and warm. It also smells good. The guest room was also comfortable, but this room gives a feeling of security. It's like being in an embrace. Etisha suddenly opened her eyes and found herself thinking about the Duke. The girl thought about what was wrong with her. Why did she think about the Duke? She couldn't believe that she liked the Duke. It cannot be. Not much time passed. As a child, she had no friends at all because of Larian Hines. She cannot speak normally, not only with her peers, but also with other people. She didn't understand why she felt so interested in someone, although she knew practically nothing about love. But still she thinks about the Duke. Is it because he's kind to her? Kind and soft. This is the first time she has met such a person. Etisha soon realized that this seemed to be it. The same love. Well, what if she really likes him? She received help from him and wears his family ring. He sleeps in the room opposite his. Is she becoming a real Duchess? However, she is here for the sake of the Duke's mistress. Just a fake. The girl could not sleep because of her thoughts. She stood up and walked to the far side of the room. She saw a large curtain on the wall. Etisha began to think about why he was here. The thought occurred to her that perhaps this was a hidden painting. When she moved it a little, she saw the door handle. The lady didn't understand why she was here, and so she decided to open it a crack. For some reason, Etisha did not think that behind this door was the Duke's room. The Duke of Cayenne lay in his bed without any outer clothing. She felt like a complete fool when the man asked what she wanted. The girl began to apologize, saying that she did not know that the rooms were connected. Cayenne replied that this is how rooms for spouses are usually made. Etisha remembered how the maid wanted to tell her about this. The girl asked for forgiveness for the intrusion and was about to leave, but the Duke stopped her. The man said that he wanted to talk to her about something. He got up from the bed and walked closer to Etisha. She herself was at a loss and did not know where to look. The girl blushed very red when the Duke came close to her. She herself didn't understand when he managed to get so close. Atisha wanted to move back a little, but she stepped on her nightie and realized that she was falling. Cayenne of Wintel reacted instantly and grabbed her with a slight movement of his hand. She found herself in the embrace of his strong arm, pressed against his hot body. The man asked if she was okay. Atisha replied that she was fine. He pulled her a little closer to him so that her feet lifted off the floor a little. The girl did not understand what was happening, but when she looked at the Duke, he looked thoughtful. When he called her name, she was already all red as a beetroot. He pressed her so hard that she was standing on her toes. Atisha pulled away from his body and, looking into his eyes, asked what was happening. The Duke touched the doorknob and said that her room had the same lock. If it closes, you won't be able to access it from this side, so she can be calm. Atisha thanked her, but in her mind she didn't understand how she could think about such a thing a second ago. The Duke asked to be excused for this. Atisha didn't quite understand what he meant. A moment later, the man took the girl in his arms. The lady was very scared. Cayenne explained this action by saying that it was simply easier to check the damaged area. He carefully placed the fragile girl on his bed. Cayenne of Wintel knelt down in front of her to examine her leg. The girl was embarrassed that she saw the Duke on his knees in front of her. She thought that she must have fallen asleep, and it was all a dream. Duke Cayenne turned to her and asked her to lift her dress. The girl asked again. The Duke replied that this way he could examine her ankle. It would be rude if he picked it up himself. Atisha did not believe that the Duke himself wanted to examine her. He will kneel in front of her while her skirt is pulled up. She couldn't even dream of something like this. Atisha slowly lifted her nightie and offered her leg to the Duke. The man carefully began to examine her. The girl noticed that such silence embarrassed her too much. She asked the Duke what he wanted to talk to her about. Cayenne lowered her leg and said that this concerns the maid Marin. The girl asked again. He explained that the maid wanted to go north with her. It looks like Marin wants to continue serving her. Atisha couldn't believe she said that. The north is far away. If she wants it, then Atisha is not against it, but it will be difficult to get back. Cayenne said that she has no relatives. She will not be sorry to leave the capital. Atisha thought that there is one thing, but she will die soon, and then… The Duke said the sprain was not serious. She will feel better in a day or two. Atisha thought that he had a lot of experience on the battlefield, so he knows better. Cayenne said that their family doctor is in the north, so they will need to find someone else to treat her. He will ask someone to find him right now. The girl began to refuse help, saying that it was already late, and it was not that serious. The man was about to refute, but Lady Atisha began to claim that everything was really fine with her. The Duke warned that the leg could swell even more tomorrow. Taking her leg in his hands, he asked if she still wanted to call a doctor. Atisha turned completely red. The man was focused on her ankle. He added that she would not be able to dance at the banquet tomorrow, and asked if she still wanted to call a doctor. The girl once again began to convince him that everything was fine. She will be cured tomorrow. Duke Cayenne noticed the pendant on the girl's neck and asked if it was a gift from His Highness. Atisha replied, yes, she thinks it's very important, so she wears it. He asked whether even when she was sleeping. The girl answered with surprise that yes. Suddenly she jumped up and told the Duke that she was fine, so she would go back to her room. Cayenne replied that it was already dawn, but good. He added that if something bothers her, she can contact him at any time. The girl replied that she would do so. She asked him not to worry and wished him to have a good night's sleep. As soon as she reached her room, she immediately hid under the blanket out of shame. Atisha was so embarrassed that she thought she wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Third day of the banquet. The last day also ended well. Atisha's leg is fine. She enjoyed her last day in the capital. The Duke said that they would go to Laxan by carriage, and then to the north using a teleportation spell. Marine went with them on a long journey. Atisha was happy about this new beginning of her life. But then the girl noticed that they had not been leaving for a long time. A yellow-haired girl approached the carriage and wished her a good day. She said she was pleased to meet her, and introduced herself as Judith. The girl got into the carriage next to the Duke and told Atisha that she could simply call her Dith. She asked Cayenne if he was waiting for her. Atisha thought about her name, more precisely about how she presented herself. She only said her name. A noblewoman would not introduce herself like that. This could mean that perhaps she is a commoner. But not a single commoner would have thoughtlessly gotten into the same carriage with the Duke. If she were a maid, she would wear the appropriate outfit. Then she must be the Duke's very mistress. Atisha smiled at Dith and said she was glad to meet her. She was about to introduce herself as Atisha Hines, but she remembered the Emperor's words. He told her that she would soon become Wintel anyway, and she wouldn't need her old last name. It's better for her to use the surname that her mother had. Atisha introduced herself as Atisha L. She said that she was a baroness. The Duke apologized for not warning her about their companion. The man said that he could not tell her who she was yet. If people find out that she has come to the capital, there will be a fuss. Atisha replied that everything was fine. She understood this. Still, he must hide his mistress. There is nothing to be sad about. It was not long before she met the Duke. There is nothing between them. The man said that therefore, before it's too late, it's better to leave as soon as possible. He tensed and clenched his fists. The carriage moved away. They rode along a path through a dense forest. There was an awkward silence. Atisha kept thinking that it was so strange to meet the very mistress about whom there were rumors. She found herself thinking that these two were perfect for each other. Judith looks friendly and seems like a good person. Atisha wondered if that was why the Duke fell in love with her. There was such a good atmosphere between them. But when she intervened, they immediately became quiet. The girl closed her eyes for a second, and Cayenne immediately asked if everything was okay with her. The man said that if she was feeling sick, they could stop to rest. Atisha immediately replied that she was fine and did not need to stop. Marin took a pillow and placed it under Lady Atisha. The girl thanked her. Atisha noticed Judith's incredulous gaze on herself. The carriage arrived in a small town called Laxon. The Duke announced that they had arrived and they could get out of the carriage. Atisha looked anxiously at the Duke's beautiful mistress. Marin noticed this and asked if everything was okay with her. Maybe she feels bad because of such a long journey? The girl replied that everything was fine and offered her hand to the Duke. But when she got out of the carriage, she unexpectedly stumbled and fell into the Duke's arms again. The man asked her to watch her step. Atisha couldn't believe it happened again. Once again, her lips are so close to the Duke's lips. In her thoughts, she asked the Duke what he was doing. "Dith is here! She'll be angry with him!" But the girl did not want to let go of his hand. Then she came to her senses. Atisha looked behind the Duke and saw a huge glowing building. She asked if this was a teleport. Cayenne replied that it was him. His assistant approached the man and said that the teleport was ready. He added that the Duke had issues to resolve. Cayenne asked if it was urgent. The man replied that this was regarding the investigation that he had ordered to be carried out. He quietly looked at Atisha. The Duke asked Atisha to wait for him here for a while. The girl replied that he should not worry about her. Cayenne of Wintel and his assistant left, and Atisha was left alone with Judith. The girl heard Dith laugh quietly. She made a questioning face. Judith asked, "Isn't it that Cayenne is quite difficult to deal with?" Atisha asked again, and Dith replied that it means she doesn't know what he's thinking about. "This is fine. No one knows." The girl said that Cayenne is the same as always in childhood, and now he has not changed, so don't let Atisha get upset. Atisha wanted to object, but Judith interrupted her by saying that no one could take him away from her. After some time, the Duke returned to them and asked how long they had been waiting. The Duke's assistant said that Miss Judith could teleport with him and the maid Marine. Judith forced a smile and silently agreed with him. The man told the Duke that they would be the first. Cayenne agreed and said that they would meet in the north. The assistant, the maid, and Miss Judith stood in the middle of the teleporter and disappeared a moment later. Atisha saw this and was delighted. She had never seen how a teleport worked before. Cayenne of Wintel said that it was their turn now and asked to go there. The Duke stopped and turned to the girl, saying that before teleporting, he would like to tell her something. Atisha asked what exactly. Cayenne replied that he wanted to tell the truth about Judith. There were other people in the carriage, so he could not talk about their relationship with Judith. He needs to make sure that only a few people know about it. The girl replied that she understood. She continued that to be honest, he might not even speak. She still understands the situation. Cayenne asked again. Atisha asked if she understood correctly that Miss Judith is the reason they are getting married. Having a fake duchess with you and spending time with a loving mistress. The Duke replied that it seemed she had misunderstood everything. He will tell her the truth. But the man asked to keep it a secret when she finds out the secret. Cayenne of Wintel said that Judith is Wintel's weak point. That's why it needs to be hidden. Atisha did not understand how it could be Wintel's weak point and why it needs to be hidden. Too intense an explanation for wanting to hide your mistress. Is it because he can't tell the whole story? He was always expressionless, but now the girl is even more confused. The guy just started saying that Judith was theirs. But before he could finish speaking, he saw that Atisha was unwell. The man asked what was wrong with her, but the girl could not answer him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her heart was beating wildly. Atisha L covered her mouth with her hand to try to calm herself down. Hypermana syndrome began to take effect. She fell to her knees, but the Duke immediately rushed to her. The girl was hysterical. The man didn't know how to help her. After some time, Atisha began to calm down a little. The girl began to apologize to the Duke, to which he replied that this was unnecessary. He took her and pressed her tightly to him and began to stroke her hair a little. The Duke told her not to be afraid and reassured her with words that everything would be fine. Half an hour later, Atisha rose from his lap and declared that she was already better. She lay on the Duke's lap for so long and enjoyed his embrace. She thinks she's fine now, and the pain is gone. Atisha thought that he might think she was faking it. Duke Kayan asked what she was saying. She can't be okay. The girl said it was true. The first symptoms are short-lived. They say that in the later stages of the disease the condition worsens, but for now it is tolerable. The man replied that if she was talking about the syndrome, then he knew it. He wants to say that she is not okay at all. The Duke asked if these were the first syndromes. The girl answered yes. Kayan said that means she has until the next ones appear. Atisha L replied that it seems so. According to the doctor, at first the intervals between pains are long, and then, towards the end, they become shorter and shorter. Until then, she will have enough time to live her life. The man listened and replied that it was clear to him. Atisha began to convince him again that she was fine. The Duke said that he thought she had better rest for a day, and they would go north tomorrow. Teleport mana can affect her body. The girl replied that everyone was already there and only us remained. Kayan said it's no big deal. It's actually good that they are together. If someone had seen them, the situation would have become more complicated. Atisha looked down and thought that this was true. The Duke said that he didn't know what might happen, so he'd better not call anyone. Finally, he suggested spending this day together. Atisha did not believe what she heard. He spent a long time on the battlefield, so it is more convenient for him to do without a retinue. But Atisha, there are no maids here, so she might feel uncomfortable. The girl replied that she did not mind. The Duke was sincerely worried about her, and she was no longer in pain. Atisha thanked the Duke for being worried about her. She told him that he was a kind and good person. Kayan replied that he is not as good as she thinks, but among everyone she has ever met, he is the kindest. Atisha doesn't think she will ever meet someone like him again. The girl suggested we go shopping because there is so much here. Each merchant called to him, shouting that the goods in his store were cheaper. Atisha finally understood what it was like to walk without a servant. Kayan apologized for causing her inconvenience, to which the girl replied that she was now enjoying the walk. The Duke was surprised at this. Miss added that she always wanted to experience something like this, at least once. For example, walking down an unknown street to an unknown store and buying things that you have never seen. Suddenly, Kayan of Wintle stopped. Atisha asked what happened. The guy pointed towards the nearest store and asked if she wanted to go there. Miss was beside herself with joy. The Duke said she was interested in the store from the very beginning. He offered to look into it if she wanted. The girl was very embarrassed. Did he really notice it? Kayan added that besides this, she seems to like sweets. Atisha said that this is not the only issue. Larian likes sweets, so they often went to similar stores. However, her parents never bought her anything. The girl became sad. The man walked towards the store and opened the door for her, inviting her. Without thinking for a long time, Atisha entered. She couldn't even dream about this. The salesman greeted them and asked if they were interested in looking at anything in particular. Atisha was absolutely delighted with such a huge display case. Duke Kayan asked if she liked anything here. The girl asked to wait a little because there was so much going on here, and her eyes were running wild. She remembers how her father asked her if she still wanted to buy something. The man said to ask his sister for some. 1 bucket is enough. Don't let her be greedy. Atisha then looked at Larian and asked if she would share with her. My sister started shouting that these were all hers. She chose them and let Atisha buy them for herself. Unexpectedly, Madame Dorothea intervened in the conflict. She asked Atisha if she was really going to take the sweets from her dear Larian. She should be grateful to her father. The girl began to object, but the stepmother said that since she was insolent to her, she would not receive any sweets. Atisha asked the seller to show her the ones she pointed to. She also asked to show the one in front of them, and the little rabbit. The Duke finally realized that something was a rabbit. The seller replied that as she pleases. Atisha also wanted to get what she wanted. It seems that the childhood she lost is coming back to her. The girl also asked if they had sweets that were prepared only during the foundation banquet. The The seller responded by asking if she was talking about gold candies and adding that they were still in stock. Atisha was delighted and said that then she would take them too. The Duke thought for a moment. He remembered that she had recently told him that he was very kind and sweet. Previously, he lived solely for himself and achieving his goals. He didn't care about his surroundings. He didn't show useless emotions to anyone. He trampled and stepped over all the obstacles on his way. And is he a sweet and kind person? Atisha is so happy because of some sweets. If someone provided a little help, then he already considers him a good person. However, the man closed his eyes. Atisha L. noticed that something was wrong. The girl asked if everything was okay. In response, he asked if she had finished choosing. Atisha was very embarrassed and answered yes. She asked if she had taken too much. The Duke replied that if such an opportunity arises, they will look here again. He put a bag of coins on the table and said that there was no need for change. The seller was shocked when he opened the bag. He thanked his dear customers and told them to come back again. Atisha was so happy with her shopping. She hugged her chocolate bunny tightly. The two of them walked in the evening along crowded streets. The girl asked the Duke to stop. The man looked questioningly. Atisha told him to take these golden candies. They say that if you put them in your mouth and make a wish, it will come true. Her wish was to leave the Heinz family, so now she has nothing to wish for. She thinks he should try these golden candies. The Duke said that he did not need it and told her to eat them herself. The girl was afraid that she was behaving too childishly and apologized for it. The Duke replied that he simply did not like sweets. Atisha wanted to answer something, but someone's voice interrupted her. The woman told Atisha that she seemed to have a wish that she wanted to make. She added that the young lady would soon have a long journey ahead of her. It also seems like she's not from here. Atisha didn't understand how she found out all this. The old lady said that she works as a fortune teller in this restaurant. If they eat in it, she will tell them fortunes. She asked if they were interested in knowing their fate. The Duke was silent. Atisha suggested that they have dinner at a restaurant. The man replied that as she wishes. They went into a restaurant and the Duke said that he would like me. Atisha added that she would do the same. The old woman put her magic ball on the table and began to tell fortunes. She began with the fate of the young lady. By destroying the indestructible, she sees a bright future. Happiness, bliss. There are difficulties ahead that need to be overcome. And as soon as this happens, she will find her happiness. The girl was glad to hear this. And now the old lady wants to look at the future of this nobleman. Suddenly something terrible happened. The ball suddenly began to emit strange lightning. One of them hit the old woman right in the eye. She screamed throughout the entire restaurant. Impenetrable darkness and pain and endless war. Fight, revenge, loneliness, and a sword piercing the sun and sky. Suddenly the ball fell to the floor and rolled. The clairvoyant doubled over in pain. Atisha asked if she was okay. The woman replied that this was a terrifying fate. She asked her to forgive her and ran out of the restaurant away from them. Atisha was wondering what it saw that made it run away so quickly. Cayenne said that he didn't think it was a real prophecy, and she shouldn't worry about it. This is nothing more than a play on words. Everyone can do this. He asked her to look at the ball. This type of ball is used by scammers. Atisha was very surprised by this. The man added that a real fortune teller would not work in such a place. He suggested finishing the meal and getting out of here. The girl was a little worried. It seems like it's all a lie, but didn't she say good things about her fate? Does Cayenne have secrets from her? Should he share them with her? Duke of the North? A war hero and a man who left his mistress to save his future wife. All she knows about him are rumors and unobvious things. Now she realizes that she knows nothing about Cayenne. What kind of person is he? What was his life like before her? What does the guy think about? What does he want? Atisha wants to know everything. The girl wanted to start eating, so she began to pray. It seemed to her that all her wishes had come true. I thought that I would just have to wait for the day of my death. But the longer she is around him, the more she wants to know about him. The girl decided to take one of the candies from the basket, and then Cayenne asked her, "Didn't Atisha say that she has no more desires?" The girl smiled awkwardly, unwrapping the candy. Miss replied that she thought there was still some left. This is weird. The Duke exhaled and said that not at all. The girl's cheeks turned red. Atisha put that same golden candy in her mouth and thought it was very tasty. Sweeter than she thought. The girl asked her to fulfill her wish.
Like this video. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos.